let's talk about if it's actually worth it to pack up all your stuff and move to a country like South Korea. Hi, this is Lorena. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk about some things that people should consider before moving to a country like Korea. So I've been living in South Korea for 6 years, and a lot of people are always curious about whether or not South Korea is even a country that's worth moving to. So I just want to share some of my experiences and things that you should consider before packing all your things and moving to South Korea. Obviously, Korea is a country that changes so rapidly, so the way that Korea was when I first arrived 6 years ago is not the way that it is now. The first thing I want to talk about is work. Usually a lot of foreigners who are in Korea are teachers. A lot of us have teaching visas, and so that kind of limits your job prospects in a lot of ways. So in order to come to Korea, you have to be comfortable with the work that you're doing. If you have no desire to teach whatsoever, living in Korea will be absolutely brutal for you. Having a love for the culture or having a love for the pop culture, whatever it is, that is not enough to sustain you, because no matter what, you like shopping, you like the food, you like the culture, you're gonna have a wonderful personal life. But if you work for a crazy institution, living in Korea is going to be a nightmare for you, because at the end of the day, your 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, will be teaching someone's child. And if you don't like kids, if you don't like teaching, it will not be enough. So I think that something that people must consider is, yeah, you got the job, you're on your way to Korea, but if you don't like kids, you don't like teaching, it's going to be a nightmare. It's really important for you to sit down and take the time to decide if you can be a teacher, because trust and believe, the kids is the least of your worries. It's known that Korea can have a toxic work culture, and it can be really shocking for some. And so not only will you have a demanding job, but you also have to deal with the demands of the work culture. And so you just have to make sure that you're ready and willing for that sort of thing. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to talk about dating briefly. And I know that this could be triggering for some, but do not come to Korea if you want to just meet and date. Like, take it from me, take it from an older sister. You think Korean men are cute, whatever. You think Korean women are cute. When I came here, I didn't date for so long. Like, I just wanted to experience life here, make good friends. That's the kind of thing that I was focused on. I'm not throwing shade to people who immediately start dating when they arrive to a place. I'm not saying that. I just think for me, it was important for me to make a life for myself here before I even thought about dating anyone. I just wanted to be grounded in myself so that I wouldn't get caught up in anything crazy, because it's very easy to get caught up in crazy things. It's like I just wanted to establish myself here before I even thought about dating. And if people can hold off on dating, even if it's a few months, whatever, I think that that will end up serving you well, because you would have learned so many things on your own before you step out of the door and go on a date with anyone. Dating, especially meeting people online, whatever it is, dating can be dangerous. You're in a foreign country, you don't know the language, you don't have no one knows you here. I think it's safer to just get a feel for things, even if it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. I just think that waiting to date, meeting the people in the culture, you don't know their culture, you don't know what's normal, you don't know, like, do your research before you start having encounters with people. That's my personal opinion. You don't gotta take my advice, but that's what I did, and I do think that it paid off for me. So I think that if people can hold off on dating, that would be a lot better than just meeting people and not knowing what you're gonna get into, okay? Living in another country can be so lonely. It can be so isolating. Even if you're surrounded by friends, even if you are dating, whatever it is, you are away from home. You're in a totally different culture. Like, even things like holidays, and if you have a major event at home, you might miss out on those things. And so you have to be prepared for the aloneness and the loneliness that you will eventually feel, the homesickness that you will eventually feel. It's just no way to avoid it, even if you're having the best experience. Like, I've had the best experience, and I've made such amazing friends here, but at the end of the day, when I go home, it's just me. When I close FaceTime with my family, it's just me out here, okay? So I think that people have to really consider that. Like, if you're someone who is uncomfortable with being alone, Korea will be so hard for you, because at the end of the day, no matter what, you're gonna be alone. You came out here alone. You're planning on moving to a foreign country alone. You will be alone, even if you make amazing friends. Even if you you date and you're with other, whatever it is, you're going to be alone. A lot of things we end up having to do alone. So it makes you grow in a lot of ways. And I think this is the heart of it all. Like, you end up changing in so many ways because you're always in situations where you have to deal with things alone. But just take that into consideration. But one thing I really do want to touch base on is that when you're making friends in Korea, just be so very careful, because just because that person is from your hometown, your home country, you have similarities with them, you went to similar universities with them, whatever it is, just because that person might have that similarity doesn't mean they have the same values as you, has the same morals as you, doesn't mean that that's your person. So just be very careful about the people that you decide to be in your life, because at the end of the day, when you don't have family somewhere, what's really important is the friends that you make. And so without having a community, that can ruin your experience, right? Community is like such a huge part of someone's experience abroad, the people that you choose in your life. And so just be so very careful, because oftentimes when you are abroad, you think that you have similarities with someone, and then they end up being totally different from what you expect, or you might end up even in dangerous situations because you think those are your people. So just make sure that you're vetting people properly. If that's not someone you could see yourself being friends with in your respective country, do not try to befriend those people in a foreign country. And that doesn't mean that you have to be friends with people who are 100% similar to you. It just means that if you don't have any commonality in terms of like the things that you're interested in, the things that you would do, your values and things like that, if those are not in common, then you might end up finding yourself in precarious situations. And oftentimes loneliness instigates this sort of thing, or loneliness causes these things. Like, you don't want to be alone, so you end up befriending people that you have no business being friends with. But just know that, just always remind yourself, if this is not someone that I could visualize being friends with in my home country, someone who, you know, is a good person, or someone who I can fundamentally get along with, if that's not the case, then find new friends. It's not that hard to find friends in Korea. You just gotta put yourself out there and try. The things that we do on a daily basis, going to work, meeting our friends, those sort of things, those everyday things, that's the bulk of it. Everything else, traveling to another country, all these other things, that's just supplementary. But at the end of the day, every day when you wake up in the morning, you gotta go to work. You have these people in your community. Those are your real life experiences. And so I think that we often like brush those things aside and just focus on the romanticized, glamorized things. But it is not like that. Korea is a real place with real hardships. People can be toxic. The work culture is toxic. Like, let's not do that. Do your research, because oftentimes we kind of have these like images. I want to move to Europe. I want to move to this place. But are you actually equipped? Are you someone who can handle that kind of lifestyle? Because it might seem glamorous and fun, but some people are not emotionally prepared for the demands of what living abroad is actually like. Because I'll keep it 100%. I've been living in Korea for 6 years. I can promise you that it's not always a walk in the park. Like, it's not always easy. Sometimes it's really difficult. Sometimes it's really lonely. Sometimes I'm really homesick. So I think that people should have a realistic expectation of what life abroad is like. Because yes, you're gonna have the time of your life. You're gonna meet amazing people. You're gonna have all these experiences. You're gonna sightsee. You're gonna travel. You're gonna do all of these things. I just think that so much focus often goes on like things outside of yourself. But at the end of the day, when you go home, it's just you. I think a lot of introspection needs to happen. Like, are you someone who could even handle that kind of lifestyle? Like, are you someone who's willing to be alone, or are you someone who's willing to do the sort of jobs that is demanded of you when you choose to work in another country? So I think those things need to be considered before you just sign a contract and decide and buy a plane ticket and decide to go abroad. Like, it's not that simple, because at the end of the day, like, your day-to-day life is what's most important.